This morning, I'm remembering when I was in Jerusalem in 1982, anyway, in the very early 80s, 82, 83, and became friends with this particular family. And it was a big family, 8 kids, and I think it was 8 kids. Maybe it was only 5, but like all of them had been arrested at some point or another. And these were not, what were they arrested for? They were arrested for resisting the occupation. They were arrested for acts of resistance. And as kids, they were all boys except for one girl. Beautiful young woman, intelligent, charming. And she told us something. My brother and I were there to find out, to see for ourselves what was going on. We'd been reading about it since I was 16 and started talking to people about the history. I read my first history book and was shocked to find that the Palestinians were being blamed, but they just lived there. They didn't pick up and leave their farms and go and invade somebody else. Those were their farms, their shops, their hospitals and churches and mosques and universities, their synagogue. And yet they were being blamed. So I naturally was very shocked and upset to hear all these adults around me talking as if the Palestinians were equally to blame or more for what was going on there. Anyway, so when I got the chance, after a year abroad in Italy, I went to Palestine, and my younger brother decided to come along with me. And we went and we interviewed a lot of people. And she was gracious enough to talk to us about her experiences of being arrested and tortured and raped by the soldiers. Because, that's who runs everything there, your prison and everything, the soldiers. Because just like the Nazi occupation of France, it's an occupation law and occupation government. And one of the interesting things she told us about her life in prison at the age of 17, 18, was that inside the prison, she and the other Palestinian girls ended up easily making friends with the Jewish girls, who were all not the white, pink-cheeked Polish and Russian Jews who ran the country. They were the exploited and downtrodden Arab Jews who ended up in jail. And she said that they were pretty much all in jail for prostitution, which it tells you a lot about the fate of the Yemeni Jews, the Moroccan Jews, the Iraqi Jews, all of the unfortunate Jewish people who were forced out of their countries by Israel. Because a lot of people say that, the Arabs threw all the Jews out. They didn't. They did not. Those are all lies. The Israelis did that for a couple of reasons. One, they couldn't stand for them to be persecuting Muslims and Christians, but for the Arabs to look good, because Jews lived okay there with the Christians and the Muslims and the Druze and the Zoroastrians, But the other reason was that they couldn't find enough of their pink-faced Jews, racially from not in the Middle East. They couldn't find enough of them to fill up a country and fight and try to steal all the land from the native people. So they drove these poor people who had beautiful ancient cultures and civilizations, beautiful communities, scholars and so on, rich cultural heritage. They drove them out, they destroyed all of those communities, and then when they arrived in Israel, they were treated like Arabs, like Christians and Muslims, like shit. You've heard the stories of how their children were stolen from them and given to white Jews, and they were told, oh, your baby died. Oh, your little boy died. They were given the worst work, and they were treated poorly, and they ended up being poor and not, rich like the white Jews, and so they turned to prostitution and things like that. I've met a lot of prostitutes in my life because I worked as a criminal defense attorney in California, and I can tell you this: I respect a whore better than I respect a soldier. A whore might be doing something bad. She might be spreading gonorrhea or cheating her customers, but she's not killing anybody. She's not killing for money. So all of this, like calling people whores and stuff, it's not that much of an insult to me. It's just saying, this woman couldn't find a better way of making a living. Mary Magdalene supposedly was a whore. I don't think she really was, but the Christian story is that she was taken in by Jesus. She became one of his disciples, and maybe if Jesus came down and talked to some of these other prostitutes and gave them some better way of life, they wouldn't be whores. They would, find another way to make their living. I don't know, embroidery. What was available to women in Israel. And anyway, so these North African and Arab Jewish girls in there with the Palestinian resistance girls made friends, and they taught each other things. They taught each other Hebrew and Arabic. Interestingly, the Yemeni Jews taught the Palestinian Jews how to make Molotov cocktails. So it was a little resistance training camp. But since then, a lot of these Arab Jews have been radicalized by people like Bibi Netanyahu. Again, they're being used not to promote and enhance and protect Judaism, but to steal land. They're just used. One of my great heroes is Ilan Halevi. His parents were Yemeni Jews who were tricked into leaving their country and moving to Israel. And he turned against Israel, declared himself Palestinian, joined the Palestine Liberation Organization, and ended up becoming Yasser Arafat's closest advisor. And he called himself 100% Jewish and 100% Palestinian. Now that is a man. That is a man.